Are you ready to get woke? Welcome to the Woke as podcast with your host, Alex Lazarev.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another Woke as Fuck podcast. Today, my special guest is Benny Wills. Now, I met this gentleman last year in Acapulco, just briefly, and I was excited. People were telling me about him because I did stand-up comedy for many years, and I like to joke around, and everyone's like, he also does funny poetry, and he's funny, you gotta meet him, and blah, blah. And I was like, cool, and I saw him, and he had a great performance, very funny. He's got that anger that I have also towards the system. He's an anarchist. Obviously, we met at an anarchist convention down here in Acapulco. And yeah, he's a fellow YouTuber like me. Been at it for quite a long time, I think. And we'll find out all more about him. But yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sasha. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So give us a little about you. How did you, how did you find your anarchist roots? How did you get into poetry and comedy? And, kind of what happened in your life to get you to this point where you're at?
Man, so much. So many
right?
things. It's been a long journey. Calling myself an anarchist is a relatively new thing, actually. In fact, I told Jeff Berwick just the other day that I only feel comfortable now calling myself an anarchist. When I first did his show a few years ago, the first question he asked was, how long have you been an anarchist? And I never thought about it like that. And I said I wasn't an anarchist because I don't like being labeled. But based off what I've experienced here at this conference, I think I'd be okay being referred to as an anarchist. I believe in the principles. So what led me to that? Man, a whole lifetime of questioning reality and wanting to know deeper truths and not accepting official stories, versions of history. I think, I was just talking to Larkin Rose yesterday about this. Like, what were the real turning points? I mean, from a really young age, I think third grade, seeing the pyramids in my history book and the Sphinx, that was a really significant time because I didn't like school. I couldn't pay attention. I just didn't care. But when I saw the first time I'd ever seen a picture of the pyramids, I was like, hold on, what are these? What's going on here? I want to know about this. And I wanted to be an archaeologist at that point. But yeah, I mean, learning about the JFK assassination when I was a kid, because since that happened before I was born, I learned about JFK and also learned that he was assassinated and learned that there was a conspiracy theory tied into it. And I was curious to know what the conspiracy theory was. Like, why not? Well, there's another perspective on this? Well, I'm curious to know what that is. So just curiosity in general. I grew up, my parents were both hippies in the 60s. My dad was in Berkeley in the 60s during like the movement. And so I grew up thinking hippies were really, really cool, and they were anti-war, and that was an idea that I could really get behind from a really young age. Okay, don't kill people, don't bomb countries. That makes sense to me. And then as I got older, seeing that a lot of people made fun of hippies was very jarring to me. I couldn't understand how anyone could see a hippie and think that they weren't cool, if nothing else. So that was a signifier that maybe I was different than some people. And the big one was 9/11. 9/11 happened when I was in high school. I was a senior in high school when that happened. And since it was pre-YouTube, I couldn't hop on my computer and, get all the different points of view on the event. But I knew something was wrong about it. Something was really wrong about what I was watching, and it didn't make sense. And as the steps that followed, the Bush administration was doing afterwards, didn't make any sense to me. Going to war with Afghanistan didn't make sense. Going to war with Iraq didn't make sense. And so that was a real big event. And then, of course, Loose Change came out when I was in San Francisco in college in 2004. And that changed the game. That was a big one for me. And then from there, it was actually at that point that I made a commitment to myself to seek truth. I wanted to know the truth. And I mean, we really could talk about this all day, but fast forward to now, and this is where I'm at as a result of that commitment to myself.
I'm curious. I was a complete shit disturber in school because it's funny because Jeff also asked me, a couple years ago, how long have you been an anarchist? And I think for me the answer was when I watched the first interview I saw with him, then I understood that I was, but I always was. I was an anarchist when I was 6. Because
Yeah.
I was in school going, this is bullshit. I know this is lies. I know they're controlling me. I don't need any of this shit. When I was literally 6 years old thinking, this is all bullshit. I don't need this. I knew it all the way through high school. I was thinking,
Totally.
this is bullshit. I don't need any of this. So I actually always hated authority and government since I was a child. From school to government, everything. So the answer was calling me an anarchist since I was born.
Yeah.
Since I was born is the answer. But I didn't really, I didn't
That's a
put
good
it
answer.
into
I think I would agree with that based off what I know now about anarchy and the sort of like reclaiming the definition of it. So yeah, totally relate.
But it was a great talk the other day by Mark Passio. I don't know if you saw that one.
Oh
It was
yeah,
so epic.
loved it.
And
I
he-
love Passio in
and
general.
he looked at the actual, the roots of the word, and it just meant
No masters, no slaves.
no masters, which means no slaves.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not like people burning shit on the streets or shooting. It's just the opposite. It's just like there's no masters.
Yeah.
We're all equal, and that's it.
And going back to what you said about school, I was at my parents' house recently going through a bin of my old schoolwork, and I was a terrible student. I was always told that I was smart, but I just wasn't applying myself, and I knew it too. I was like, yeah, I know I'm not an idiot, but I don't care about this work. And I found a little scribble on a piece of paper when I was in the third or fourth grade that said, "School makes you stupid," and I saw that, and I was very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Because I saw it back then. But the problem with that was I was made to feel really guilty about that, my lack of sort of commitment towards school. And I got into a sort of a habit of punishing myself as a result of going, like, man, I really don't want to do this. I want to go outside and play and, do creative things, but I have to be here in school and I don't want to be. And man, there's something wrong with me because I don't have the discipline for homework, But now I look at it like, man, I was something within me was protecting myself from that garbage that they were trying to, indoctrinate me into.
That's right. It's like we intuitively know, even at a young age, we know what's bullshit and what's not. Much more than actually, I think we're more in tune with that as kids than we are as adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And I never chose to be. I don't feel like I chose to be an anarchist. And I don't understand. I've never understood why people have such, adamant opposition towards alternative points of view, because for me it's just curiosity. It's not like I like being into conspiracies. I'm curious to know what other people are saying about an issue. I want to have all the perspective because I'm curious, and that's always just come naturally. I'm still just a regular dude who likes to hang out and laugh at stuff and watch a movie, but I just don't understand why people aren't more curious and why they're so against varying points of view.
It is very strange. I had this great idea recently that I've started filming. I'm one of these people where I get an idea and I want to do something, like I want to film something, get something on YouTube. I'm not going to hire a film crew. I'm literally just going to take my iPhone, I'm going to take my GoPro, I'm just going to film it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be it's just going to be pretty good, and I'm just going to get it up because I just want to get a message across. And what I want to do is I want to make a really easy film where I literally just come up to anybody who's awake, anyone who's relatively on that path of self-realization, out of the matrix, and just ask them very simple questions like, what happened to you when you realized we're living in the matrix? How did you break out? Tell me what's actually going on in your country. And if you were going to speak to people who are still in your country, who are still in the matrix, what would you say to those people? And I want everyone speaking in their own language. So Germans speak German, Norwegians speak Norwegian, Russians speak Russian. And it just,
That's cool.
Because imagine, whatever, you're from France and you're watching this movie and there's a French guy just like you saying, this is who I am, this is my story, blah, blah, blah. And I realized this is why we're all slaves. Yeah. And I think it's very, very powerful. So, and it really, I find it shocking, just like you said, how many people are just so comfortable just believing what they're told, trusting authority, trusting the system, and just going along with it. And I think the reason is because they just feel safe and secure. As long as everything's okay and you pay your tax and you have your job, and okay.
Even though
life is okay. You're living in,
they're on antidepressants and they're drinking every night and they're, I don't know, not to completely generalize, but they're living rather, at least compromised lives, unhappy lives a lot of the time, and yet they'll fight for the system until the death. It's weird. It's weird to me.
It is weird. But I think could it just be as simple as, even though you're kind of mediocre, there's no immediate threat to your life. Like, you're not going to get killed. You're not going to get kidnapped. You're living in Europe or America. For most people, it's relatively kind of okay.
Right.
Even though, you might, whatever.
They accept it.
They just kind of go, well,
it could be worse.
Could be
that
worse.
mentality. Yeah.
That's that mentality.
Yeah.
And that's really the main problem is people don't strive for greatness. People don't strive to achieve something greater, get some great skill, or make a real difference in the world. Some people do.
Well, that's what
many people don't.
That's something that Passio says. That we are taught that survival is the number one goal,
right.
and it's nothing else. Is we can't. You achieve survival,
You're good.
you're successful. But
Right.
there's so much more than just surviving here. We're meant to survive here.
Well, again, think about where that's coming from. That is 100% fear-based mentality.
Absolutely.
People are dying. People are starving. People get shot all over. So if you can just not get killed,
Yep.
you're awesome.
You're winning.
Just pay the rent. Just as long as you can pay. Feed yourself. And
Yep.
you're not on the street. You're good. It's like, no, you're not fucking good.
Yeah.
You
we
know?
can do so much better.
So much,
Obviously.
so much better.
Yeah.
And it really comes down also just to truly the mindset. And this is where it's so powerful. Getting in teachings like Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you're into Abraham.
I went through a
You
summer
must
of-
have gone through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So many people have.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where where you're really just living in a scarcity reality or an abundance reality. It really is that simple. I was
Exactly.
talking to someone the other day, and they didn't want to spend a couple $100 to get a new cell phone. Even their cell phone was dying. They're like, oh, it's so expensive. I'm like, I know you have a job. I know you can afford it. Yeah, but I don't want to spend $200, a couple $100 on a new phone. And it's just like, in the reality I live in, I have absolutely everything. I mean, everything I could imagine I have. Am I really smarter than you or better? No. I've just decided to choose abundance. In the universe, I trust in the universe, and the universe
Absolutely.
delivers, and
Trust.
that's just how it works. But we're so programmed not to trust. We're so programmed to live in fear and scarcity
Totally.
and whatever. And that's the only way. And it's so interesting. Again, another thing, it's becoming a huge Mark Passio promotion. But he said actually in his talk, and it's something I knew, but I hadn't thought about it in a while. But he said, the beings, energy beings, and there's all sorts of archons and all sorts of things at play. But the beings that are sort of running the show behind the scenes, they're creating war and suffering and all these things because when you're in fear, you create a certain fear frequency, and these beings feed off that frequency.
Exactly.
So they want us in fear and survival. And when you transcend that, and you actually trust in when you're on the light side, and you trust in all that is, and you know everything will be okay, and you're taken care of, and you just have faith. You're just not in that fear, and they can't feed off you. And I think the solution for all of our problems, is to just to connect with Source, and for all of us to trust and realize that we're all light beings and we're all loved, and then those beings just would lose all their power because they wouldn't be able to eat. They would literally, we would just starve them out.
Starve them
They
out.
would just have to leave.
Yeah, and walk your own path. I mean, just trusting that alone, trusting that your internal compass will guide you in the right direction if you listen to it and believe in yourself. I mean, that's why I'm here, sitting here talking to you. So I'm here in Mexico performing poetry to a sold-out crowd. I mean, this is because I dared to step away from what I was supposed to do and do what was unknown and scary. But hey, the results are pretty awesome.
They are fucking awesome. It was a great time. Let me ask you this. So when did you start sort of doing comedy / performing poetry? When was that?
Well, let's see. The poetry is rather new. I've been writing poetry since I was a kid. So it's a skill I've been sort of silently sharpening my whole life. But when I wasn't taking notes in school, I was writing little poems on my, in my notebook. So I've been doing it all along, but I was so on the track of being an actor that I never considered any other options. So that was just something I did while I was daydreaming in class. But in the last few years, I've really stepped into that, and the results have been amazing, and the feedback's been amazing. So that's only since 2015 is when I wrote my first sort of poem that when I was finished, I thought, wow, this could really help people. Before that, I started doing Joy Camp with my friend Kevin back in 2012, and that was a culmination of a lot of things. I started on the actor path when I was 7 years old. Started working as a professional actor at 7. I started doing, I did TV and film when I was a kid, and then I started doing theater when I was in high school, and at one point I did 55 plays in a row over the course of 10 years. I have 2 degrees in acting. I have a BA and an MFA in acting. So I was on that track. And I mean, humor has just always come naturally to me. I like good humor, and I think when you have a good sense of humor, you tend to be pretty funny sometimes. And then Kevin and I, we woke up, for lack of a better term, we woke up together when we were in college. And, one of the first things you learn when you wake up is you should contribute. It's now you know something, so now you have a responsibility. So we didn't really know what to do. So we tried, flat out activism, holding up signs on street corners for 9/11 Truth and whatnot. And it was on the right track, but it didn't feel right for us. It didn't feel authentic for me. I thought, okay, there's something else I can offer here. And this is over the course of 10 years, maybe. Or no, not 10 years, maybe like 7 or 8 years. But we, all the while, Kevin and I were always able to laugh at things. Like, we would let off steam together. You know, if we were watching David Icke talks or something, like, man, reptilians, can you believe this shit? Oh my gosh. And we'd laugh about it. So we were letting off steam, but not realizing that having that humor with it could be a contribution. So we made one little video in 2012 called Conspiracy Theorist PSA that we did just for fun, just for ourselves. And he has editing skills. He's a really good editor, and had been making films with his friends since he was a kid, and I've been acting. So we were really talented at what we did. We just didn't see how they could overlap. So we made this video, and it turned out great. And as soon as we saw the product, we were like, whoa, this is not only good and funny, but this is something that's really lacking in, you know, this movement, word that I don't usually use for it, but whatever, this awakening, this move towards the good, whatever you want to call it. And we thought, man, we can provide a respite for people who need a break, who need to laugh, who need that outlet, as well as provide something for people who are still sleeping, you know, provide something that's palatable for them, that will disarm them through humor and maybe make them think in a way that they wouldn't otherwise if they weren't laughing. So we realized really quickly that it was our way of contributing. So we started that in 2012. We've been doing it ever since, and now I'm sort of I don't say graduating, but my own evolution as a person is allowing me to step more into my own individuality as an artist and as a speaker. So now I do Joy Camp with Kevin, and I do my poetry on the side, still posting that on the Joy Camp page, and the reaction to that has been phenomenal. So it's all just natural evolution of, you know, trusting instincts and following what feels right and maintaining integrity and, you know, all that. So that's kind of a not short, not long, but sort of mid-range answer to your question.
You mentioned something that I've had similar experience with it. I found quite profound, and it's something I think would help people, which was you sort of gave yourself the freedom to go from, you know, this idea that you had that you have to be an actor to suddenly you're like, no, you know what, I feel inspired, I'm going to do some poetry, and it led to great things, you know. Same thing with me. I was very similar to you. I did stand-up comedy my entire life. I started when I was 17 years old. By the time I was 23, I was a professional. I was opening up for, you know, big comics. I opened for Joe Rogan at one point. You know, I was all over the place, having a great time. But I was very rigid. You know, I was like, nope, I'm a comedian. Don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking comic. I want to be the best comic in the world. That's all that mattered. And then later on in life, other opportunities just presented themselves. You know, becoming a dating coach, that whole thing, starting a podcast, starting this men's event, all this stuff. And I've had these amazing experiences because I allowed myself to follow my inspiration. I didn't at age 32 go, no, I'm not gonna, even though I'm flirting with girls and having amazing results and people want to film me and give me money to teach them. Nope, I'm a comedian. No, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow and just see where this takes me. And what's interesting is not only do you have these amazing other life experiences, but they actually strengthen your core thing. Like, I ended up having so many funny jokes about pickup and about dating and about self-development and all these other things that actually I've taken into my comedy act. And I'm even deeper and better as a comic because of other things I've done with my life. So it's a beautiful thing to allow yourself to pursue these little off-ramps in life, not to be so rigid with, no, I'm an actor, I'm a comedian, no, I'm only a chef, I have to be the best chef. No, like, you want to be the best you.
Yep.
If the best you
Totally.
is going off on some crazy tangent, even for a few years, and trying that, that's a beautiful thing.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I was rather rigid with it. I mean,
Me too.
looking back on it,
Yeah.
I was so committed to being an actor that even looking at Hollywood objectively and seeing, recognizing some of the darkness and, you know, some of the conspiracies that say surrounding entertainment, and I was like, no, I can accept it all, but not entertainment, because that's what's going to pay my bills. That's my career path. And it took me to a really long time. Even when we first started Joy Camp, I was still on that path, because that's how I was making money as well. I mean, I got out of grad school, and, you know, I had to start paying off debt as well. And yeah, I mean, I went right to LA and started working, and I'm a good actor, so I was making good money for a while there. So it took a lot to finally be to the point where it was so obvious that I had to walk away from it, because it was not serving me at all, and it was a outdated dream. I was just like going through the motions of something that I had no passion for anymore. And this is a really scary thing to leave behind, because that was the only thing I'd really ever known. and it was paying me. And how do I step into something that's completely unknown and trust that it's going to work? But I did, and the results have been fantastic.
Yeah. All comes down to that trusting again.
Exactly.
Just following that internal guidance.
Exactly.
Yeah. Crazy idea, but you think you could do us a little short poem for the listeners?
Sure. Yeah, I could do a poem. Yeah, I'll do a poem. Let's see. I'll do one. So I might mess it up because it's been a while since I said it out loud, but sure. This one's called. Oh, no, I'll do a different one. I'll do one that I'm thinking about calling In Lakesh, thinking about changing it, but it's called I'm a Conspiracy Theorist. It's on my. It's just got uploaded to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, and it goes like this. I'm a conspiracy theorist, a radical extremist, a paranoid, ridiculous, delusional idealist. I'm a ludicrous anarchist. I'm a pessimistic communist. I'm a woo-woo, hippy-dippy, foil hat enthusiast. I'm an airy-fairy truther. I'm a curly-headed loser. I'm a tripped-out, bleeding heart cannabis abuser. I'm a pathetic, apathetic, freeloading non-voter. I'm an empathetic, sympathetic, tree-hugging peace promoter. I'm certified organic. I'm hopelessly, endlessly romantic. I'm enigmatic. I'm aloof. I'm charismatic. I'm a goof. I'm annoying. I'm a nuisance. I'm privileged and I'm white. I'm an opinionated SOB who don't lean left or right. I'm anti-war, anti-government, anti-fear, anti-money, pro-love, probiotic, pro-fun, pro-funny. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm unshackled, and I'm free. I am man, I am beautiful. I'm a you, and you're another me.
That's great.
Thanks, man.
Very good.
Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
It's good, it's healthy.
It's fun. It's fun. Like, go, now, go.
Yeah.
No, people do that to comics all the time. Oh, you're a comedian? Tell us a joke.
Tell us a joke. Make us laugh.
Every time.
Yeah.
And then I had to just come up with a standard joke, which is just like two Jews walk into a bar and they buy the place. That was my standard one.
That's funny. I feel like I need to change when I'm because I wrote that one a couple years ago, and I've since I have a new relationship with money now. I still think money can be a tool that's can be really abused, obviously, and used to control people. But I'm not anti-money anymore. I see it as a tool and don't have any. I don't apply, human characteristics any longer. I might change that line to anti-fiat money at some point.
Doesn't rhyme as well.
I know that's
but
the problem.
It's better. Yeah. It's a tough decision.
And I like pro-funny so much, so I have to. It's a part of my catalog, so it is what it is.
Or anti-central bankman. That
doesn't work either. It's not as funny.
Anti-IMF. It's short. It doesn't rhyme.
I'll figure it out. We'll work on it.
Yeah.
Maybe your listeners will have a suggestion.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But I also used to have issues with money. I really used to think, oh yeah, it really is the cause, blah, blah, blah. But it's really, I've made my peace with it, and it's really not. It's really what you do with the money and your intention. If your intention is to go and change the world and do great things and fund charities and really make a difference, and you want lots of money so you can do amazing things, it's beautiful. And if you're just coming from a place of scarcity and you're like, oh, I've got $10 million, I want to have 20, then people will, if you're coming at it from that place, then you'll be successful, and then people then you're fucked. So it really depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a tool of control. It can be a tool of empowerment. Exactly. Yeah.
So I feel we know you a little bit now. So let's it's a spiritual podcast. So tell me about your because me, I used to be atheist. I hated religion. I didn't believe in God. And then of course I had certain very powerful experiences where I realized, of course, I was just angry, and I started developing my own connection with spirit. So what was that journey for me? Where did you come from in terms of those beliefs and sort of what's been developing for you?
Very similar. I mean, I grew up. Atheist wasn't the term that was used in my household, but that was sort of the idea. I mean, I was brought up without religion, and I was definitely. My mom taught me to say that I tell people that I was an enlightened humanist. That's how she told me to describe myself. But I was brought up without religion, and I grew up thinking that religious people were misled, and I knew something that they didn't. And I'm a kid, I don't really, what do I know? But I thought, those poor people, they don't know, there is no God. They're just being fooled, which is a really sort of arrogant way to grow up. Obviously, being a peaceful person and I liked everybody, but I just thought that the religious thing was, just wrong. But as I got older and I started hearing how atheists would describe things and just the pride that an atheist would declare, and I remember thinking, as a teenager sometime, gosh, someone who's declaring that they're an atheist, who's saying there is no God, that's just as narrow-minded as the alternative, someone who's saying there is a God 100%, whatever. And I thought, what's the difference there? If you're going to be that committed to a belief without actually knowing, then you're limiting yourself just like the people you think are who are limited, And so it started there. That was the seed for me. And then what really kicked it into gear was ayahuasca. I did ayahuasca in 2013, and that really changed the game. That really connected me to a sense of, just an interconnectedness to everything, to all life, to seeing Earth as one life, and all life is one life, and I'm just a grain of that, or whatever, however you want to term it, but a connectedness and a connection to something bigger beyond just this flesh body that I inhabit, and started seeing myself as a conduit for good. Since there is such imbalance on the planet right now, we need harmony restored. And those of us who understand that become the healthy cells that are capable of achieving that. We're like the white blood cells in the body that cure the infection. And even when you look at, bird's eye view of a city or, this industrial, quote unquote, civilized world we've built, it looks like a parasitic infection on an otherwise healthy body. And that I'm an aspect of this life within the body that can cure it from within. And that really changed the game for me. And I understood religion for the first time, and I understood what God could mean and what it could mean for me. And I started, I don't subscribe to any organized religion, but I certainly understand where they come from and why they're significant, and can see where Jesus is a pretty cool guy. I mean, he preached being a good person, be good. You want to be like me? Then act like me, help people, be humble, stand up for wrong, for what you see as wrong, and be good, and that was a real profound thing. And then, of course, from there, that actually really helped me shine a light on Hollywood and entertainment, and seeing it as, some people like to say satanic, and then even sometimes I say satanic, but sort of just the evil intent, the brainwashing and the propaganda, and it's against everything that I was understanding through my connection with divine through the vine. So that was big. That's where it started. 2013 really kicked it into high gear. I was dabbling in it already, spirituality, and wondering and feeling like there was something more. I definitely stopped calling myself an atheist in my, as a teenager, but I didn't do ayahuasca until my late 20s. And I've just nurtured that relationship with spirit, the universe, however you call it, ever since, and discovered meditation and all kinds of stuff, man. Just really connected to life.
Tell me a little bit more about, are there any practices that you do, or even things you've done in the past that have really nourished that connection for you?
Yeah. Let me think. Like a daily practice or habits or...
Yeah, anything like that.
Well, I used to be, like I said in that poem, a cannabis abuser. I used to smoke a lot of cannabis, and unconsciously. And I use it now, but much more consciously, and I see it, I feel like the plant energy helps to connect me to the earth, and I can use it, in meditation. I'll take some cannabis oil and sit there and meditate and drop into my body and focus on my breath and center myself, ground myself. I'll go outside and connect my feet to the earth, something that's all too often lost a real just connection to the earth. Spending more time outdoors, a real connection to spirituality, to whatever the divine, and appreciation of nature. Having a love in my life, having a girlfriend now, really helps me connect to that, the divine masculine and divine feminine, and the sense and the idea of a union, and the idea of creating new life, because we haven't done that yet, but that really helps. She really helps. She's another sign that I'm on some sort of spiritual path. Even being here is a proof that I'm on some sort of spiritual path of trusting, going back to what we talked about earlier, trusting, stuff like that.
Any specific kind of mystical experiences that were like, whoa, or?
I went to the Amazon in Peru in 2016, and that was a really profound experience for me spiritually, because I'd done ayahuasca a number of times, but always in Los Angeles, in a really sacred space, mind you, but not in the Amazon. But I went to the Amazon, I did Huachuma, San Pedro, cactus. Yeah. And had such a profound experience, but in a really simple way. There's something about doing that in the morning and having the whole day to experience it, and some really valuable lessons from that, like seeing life and death as sort of the same thing. Seeing that there is no tree that has, if there's green leaves on the tree, there's brown leaves on the ground. It's all one and the same. When the brown leaves hit the ground, something's there to absorb it, and the earth will reclaim it. If something dies, if a bird dies and it's on the ground, bugs will eat it. It's all a cycle. It's all this one continuous, infinite cycle, life and death. It's one and the same. And perhaps the biggest thing I got from that, well, multiple things. I was just talking to Bernhard about this, Bernhard Gunther, who's also here. My relationship with something like mosquitoes, for instance. This is profound to me. I was getting bit a lot in the jungle. I mean, a lot. Because have you been to the Amazon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brutal.
I think the Amazon is half insects. It's half insects. You look closely at something, you'll see it's moving, no matter where you're looking. But I was getting bit a lot, and up until the Huachuma ceremony, and then Fred, the Peruvian guy who was facilitating it, I was commenting on. I was like, "Man, I'm just getting bit to shit out here," and it was so bad that I was so tense. I was like running from point A to point B, and with sweats on, even though it was hot in the jungle, because I didn't want to get bit. I was getting bit so much. They were to the point where I thought, "What would they be eating if I wasn't here? I am their food." But I was, So I talked to him about it. He's like, "Well, you could change the way you look at it. Look at it like this. The mosquitoes taking bits of your blood that you don't need. They're helping you to detoxify, and your body will replenish that blood with new, fresh, healthy blood." And that was so simple and so beautiful. And I thought, oh, wow. Yeah, I like that. So I just made peace with the mosquitoes, accepted them as part of the experience, and stopped trying to fight them. And from then on, they didn't bite me. To me, that's profound. I had 3 more days in that retreat. Maybe I had 1 or 2 bites here and there, but I was getting 10 a minute, And at that point, they stopped because I had this full, what's the right word? I gave over to it. I released it. And then the other big one for me in the jungle was a transmutation of anger. It went like this. So as I was experiencing the medicine and the beauty of this medicine, I commented on it again to this guy, Fred, and said, "Man, this is such lovely medicine. What a shame that more people can experience this, because it's so helpful. It's so healing." And then I thought, it's too bad that most people are inundated with pharmaceuticals and big pharma, and that's the way they heal, is through these synthetic drugs that aren't healing anything, really. And I got angry at the drugs, angry at big pharma. And then I became aware of the anger in that moment. And I thought, man, I am so tired of being angry. I'm so sick of being angry and sacrificing my energy at the altar of anger at this system. and how if I give in to that, I'm giving my energy over to this force that I'm trying to overcome. And I thought, I like transmuted it. I started feeling grateful. Like, gosh, instead of being so angry at the world, I'm grateful that I have the vantage point that I do. How lucky I am that I'm able to see through this shit and not be subject to it. That I can, you know, I've released myself from the shackles and I am now free, and I don't have to be so angry all the time. And I can be appreciative of the fact that I did wake up, and that I'm going to continue to wake up for the rest of my life. And I found this other path, and how so many people don't ever find that, and how lucky I am that I did. And so that was a mind blower. That was a game-changing revelation for me. And it was so simple. It was just a subtle shift from anger to appreciation. And, you know, one of those turning points in my life. And it was a spiritual experience.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime we just make peace with anything and let it go, it's profound.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I had a moment a year ago, also at this event last year. I was just pondering the matrix and this control system. And I just had this moment of absolute clarity where I realized the profundity and how beautiful it was to wake up out of this system and to realize your potential and to see things for what they really are. And I realized, wait a second, this matrix, slave control system, is the perfect thing set up that gives people the opportunity, the amazing opportunity to have this experience of waking up from it.
Mm.
If it wasn't there, there would be nothing to wake up from. And that is the most exciting thing you can do, to wake up.
That's deep.
To
I like
wake up
that a
from
lot.
This prison. Because when you wake up, you're like, wow, holy fuck.
Yeah.
It's like Neo,
Mm-hmm.
waking up out of the Matrix. So the Matrix is this beautiful gift given to us so that we may wake up and experience what we truly are.
Gosh, yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And I was just speaking to a good friend of mine just a couple weeks ago about, this situation that we find ourselves in, right? And the Matrix, and seeing the horrendous behavior and the horrendous control that's going on, but always keeping in mind the potential for good. And it's that potential for, let's say, Eden on Earth. Because I feel like I look around and I see Eden. It's everywhere. It is Earth. Mm-hmm. Earth is the Garden of Eden. And those of us who can see that, you strive for the good in spite of all odds. Because you know that it's always capable of being there. That's how we develop our souls. And perhaps maybe that's always the test. Maybe we come here and maybe that's the soul's journey. Maybe we are here to see both options. There's the good and there's the bad. And you can either give in and say, it's bad and it's always going to be this way, and whatever, I can't change it, so I'm just going to give into it. And then you perpetuate that. Mm-hmm. But if you seek the good, you constantly strive for it. And even if you don't end up seeing this absolute balance that's possible here in this lifetime, you still sought it your entire experience. And that's how your soul graduates. That's how you learn the lessons you're supposed to learn. And that's how you, can live a really beautiful life, even if it has obstacles along the path. Because, gosh, everybody has obstacles. Everybody has trauma. We all have to elevate ourselves. And all those things are just tests for us. It's all opportunities for growth. And maybe at the end of it, that's how we up-level to the next experience. Why not? I can see it.
It is the ultimate school of life.
School of life. Yep.
Yeah, everything really is here for us.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think we got a little. I think we had a moment there.
Oh yeah.
We had a moment.
It's one long moment.
So what's next for you in your future? What do you got? What's the next exciting thing?
Sure.
For you?
Well, I've somehow slipped into this role as the anarchist poet. Not to say that there's not room for plenty more, but here, at this convention and what I've built already with Joy Camp, I'm a poet. I'm a poet now, and it's really exciting, and people really like it, and I'm just going to continue growing that. Still doing some Joy Camp videos. If anyone out there knows Joy Camp, there will still be classic Joy Camp type material, but just stepping more into that individuality as an artist and communicating through words, because the poetry is the coalescence to me of everything I'm good at and everything I've put time in. I was a really good actor. I am a good actor. I spent so much time into it, but I always hesitated calling myself an artist with it. And where it was lacking for me was telling someone else's story. I go up there and I'm really good at being on stage and taking an audience on a journey, but it was always someone else's story. And now with the poetry, I'm telling my story, using my words. So I'm using all that training, all that time invested, and now applying it in something brand new that's all mine. And my writing skills, my sense of humor, my awareness of the matrix and the ways out of the matrix, and I'm able to utilize it in this new way, this poetic way that feels really good. I mean, when I finish writing a poem and I read it to my girlfriend, I cry every time. It's so visceral. It's coming such from the most honest, pure place inside of me. I'm a conduit for it. And I'm just going to keep stepping into that. Because the reactions now that I'm getting from people because of the poetry, while the reactions from Joy Camp have always been positive, the reactions to the poetry are different. They're more sincere, more appreciative. I'm getting messages at least 4 or 5 a week from people genuinely thanking me for what I'm doing. And, who knows how long. Maybe something else is in store. That's fine too. I don't want to force anything. But to keep stepping into this more and more, and allowing it to be what it wants to be. And it feels so good for me. It feels good for other people. I just want to keep exploring it. And I would love to, my intention is to travel the world and perform, get on stage and deliver this to people, deliver these messages in this artistic way that can help people. So don't know what it's going to look like yet, but that's the intention.
It sounds like I've done a little bit of poetry just a few times for fun in London at these poetry nights. It sounds like it's almost a great exercise in authenticity for anybody. Just to write a poem about something you're passionate about and express yourself. It's such a good way to get real with yourself and express, because that's one of the things, especially as men, we just hold everything in. We never really say what we think or feel or let things out. So if you're pissed off about something or excited about something, whatever, just write a little poem and get it out. Even if no one ever reads it, even if it's just for you or your friend, or your girlfriend. Absolutely.
And I think that creativity is such a fundamental, aspect of changing things and waking people up and all that. We need creativity. And I encourage anybody to do whatever creatively as an outlet for themselves. Even if they've, I think that everybody at some point in their lives said something like, I wish I played the piano, or I wish I'd done this, or I've always wanted to be a painter, I always wanted to be a musician, or whatever. Do it. Why not? Do it. Be willing to fall flat on your face. Be willing to look like an idiot in front of people. Who cares? This is the only life you have. Make the most of it. Try it out. See what works. Find your art. Be you, I mean, that's the key. I want to inspire, to help. And everyone has a creative side. Everybody has a creative side.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the problems why people can fall into the matrix, is that they're not being creative, so they don't experience that joy of creation and freedom. So they're just like, they just get into their regular routine. And it's easy to fall into that and not want to fight it, because if you've never felt the joy of creating, you know what I mean? It's almost like you don't have that need to create, to do something great and to express yourself. You're just stuck in this box.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think doing comedy, poetry, acting, whatever, where you're creating, even drawing, anything, it's almost can get that engine of independence and independent thinking and expression going, so that eventually you do make drastic changes and you do escape.
Sure. Absolutely.
We are creators. That's what we are.
We have creators.
To do that, even if it's just fucking coloring books. I don't care, but do something. And you also touched on something earlier that I resonate with, which was the reason why I tried sort of a little bit of acting, and I was just like, this isn't for me, because I didn't want to be someone else. For me, I just wanted to express myself and be myself, and that's why comedy spoke to me so much. I could just go up there and talk about what I think was funny from my own angle. It always felt so fake being someone else. Maybe it's some kind of block I had, but for me, comedy was the only thing I ever wanted. Yeah, it's just so real.
Yeah, I think, well, the acting for me, for many reasons, I wanted to do it for many reasons. But one of the things I was doing was shielding myself. You know, I liked being able to express and feel all these things and express them to people and have them see it, but I didn't really want them to see me.
Right.
You know, so it was sort of a shield, and I got really good at it. I mean, I was a very good stage actor. I think there's still a lot of people in my life who are surprised and even disappointed in me that I didn't go down that path because they saw the potential. And
Well, fuck those guys.
yeah, I'm much happier now.
That's
Yeah.
the greatest measure of success.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super awesome. Well, beautiful, man. I feel this was a good first crack at hanging out.
Sure. Yeah,
hanging out
this
on
is
the
great.
podcast. And tell the people, you know, where if they want to come check you out, where do they come find you on the internet?
Sure. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Joy Camp. If you type in Joy Camp, one word, Joy Camp to YouTube, you can't miss us. Will be the first thing that comes up. We have over 100 videos at this point. We are saturated in content. The newest ones are some of my poems. We've released, I think, 3 of them publicly now. You can find me directly on Facebook. I'm Benny Wills. Very easy to find. You can find us on our Facebook like page, which has been really treating us well recently with video views, which is, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, Joy Camp on Facebook, Joy Camp on Twitter, Joy Camp on Instagram. It's Joy Camp Benny on Instagram. You can follow me on Steemit, Joy Camp-Benny. I'm at Joy Camp-Benny on Steemit. You can fund me on Patreon if you want to support some art. I mean, like I said in my speech the other day, I get paid exactly $0, zero money to do what I do. So if you want to help my cause, I also have Bitcoin address and Litecoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash and all these QR codes that you can find. Very easy to find Joy Camp on the internet and Benny Wills on the internet.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Super awesome. And looking forward to our part 2 next year at Anarchapulco.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Peace out.
Cool.